You're listening to Conversations in Sports with Tim McCann and Alex Higdon. And today we got a lot of sports topics to talk about today. The very first one, we're going to dive into basketball. I know football season is going on, but I wanted to specifically address this issue first. Andrew Wiggins, Kyrie Irving are NBA players who are refusing at this moment to take the vaccine. We've had sports talking heads such as Stephen A. Smith say that they should be traded or that they should, and stuff of that nature. What are your thoughts, Alex, in terms of athletes choosing to not participate in the vaccine and the controversy or the cost thereof of not taking the vaccine and how it can affect their pockets, their popularity, and etc.?
I think it's fine. I mean, it's just like I think it would be the same for anybody, any one of us. You know what I'm saying? If you work at said company and you decide I don't want to be vaccinated, but they have a policy to be vaccinated, you have that choice not to be vaccinated. They have that choice not to employ you. Simple. So if they don't want to partake in the vaccination, those teams have the ability to trade them. I'm sure this is new to the NBA, just like it was new last year. I'm sure there are stipulations and clauses where they can not be paid for those respective games. The funny thing about that is because there's a mandate in New York, there's a mandate in San Francisco where the Warriors play, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Andrew Wiggins came to Brooklyn, he could play. If Kyrie went to San Francisco, he could play. However, neither can just play in their hometowns. So I find that fascinating.
It's weird. Let's
Yeah,
just put it that way. It's
yeah.
it's it's very
So
weird.
I mean, there's ways around it. Either you don't play any home games for Kyrie, and you don't play any home games for Wiggins. You don't pay them, and then they're good to go on the road. And you can utilize them on the road. Or I'm sure that there's some loophole that needs to be negotiated between the Players Association and the NBA that says because we play an indoor sport, unlike football, because I've been hearing a lot, well, football, okay, well, yeah, football is an outdoor sport, so those stipulations don't matter because these are applying to uh, basketball, which is an indoor sport, so it's different. So if you're choosing to not be vaccinated, and that's your choice, it's not a law, it's your choice. But however, the job from which you are employed decides that for the safety and integrity of our game, we want you to be vaccinated. You have, well, rather the state mandate. I don't want to say it's not even the NBA. It's the state that's mandated. They have to follow the respective laws. Then you're out. You don't get paid for those games.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation that we're in with COVID. And we, as someone who's respectful of both sides, I'm respectful of the people who do not want to participate in the vaccine and those who are pro-vaccine to the to the T. This is a very complicated issue, and for the people who are wondering why aren't people taking the vaccine, there's a lot of reasons why people don't trust vaccines, why they don't trust medical science, where you see a lot of men not trusting doctors. When you look at the history of certain groups of people, okay, these industries that we're entrusting have taken advantage of, people of color. And that's where a lot of these issues lie. Um, do I believe, though, that the facts of the matter is that these vaccines, whether you're pro or against it, you have to look at the facts. The facts suggest that vaccines, while they're not preventative measures, they cannot prevent COVID-19, they are saving lives, according to the BBC and other news. You can look it up. Now, whether or not you want to abide by those, that's up to you. But on the flip side, we also know that historically in this country, we understand why people would not take the vaccine because of all the issues of race that this country has dealt with. But I also believe, though, that if we look at the numbers, if we actually can see that vaccines, like the people who got COVID, who took the vaccine, their probability of living is higher than someone who got COVID and didn't have the vaccine shot and died. That's just the facts. And if the people want to make their own choice, that's up to them. But people also need to understand that with this disease here, right, it is something where it's airborne. So you could unintentionally give it to somebody without even you knowing it. So while it is your choice, I believe it is personally a survival of the fittest type of mindset. And if that's cool, if that's the way that we want to go as society, then that's fine. I believe you should have the right to do that. But I just want people to know the cost of what it could be. You could potentially have COVID, put it on someone else. Look, people who catch COVID and pass away, they have other issues with them. Okay, and COVID will help them, will actually hurt them. Excuse me. COVID will actually affect that other issues, which will cause them to pass away. So, I mean, but to each his own. People have the right to do what they want to do. The people who want to wear masks, people who don't want to wear the mask. This is American country. This is a capitalist society, and people have the right to do what they want to do. It's just that there's always a choice in the matter, and sometimes it's survival of the fittest, and that's how I view it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Alex, you got any perspective on what I just said?
I mean, I agree, but I'll just go a little bit further with, you know, people have a certain lifestyle and they just don't, you know, are not into science, period. So let's just not, I don't want to restrict it to COVID because it's beyond some things that those that live a certain, I want to use the term correctly because I don't want to just say vegan because it's a specific term. It's a specific term that they, you know, they choose to let their body's natural
Naturally
mechanisms
heal
that
itself.
fight, right, heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say anything against it. I've seen people who have had diagnosis and taken, you know, I'm a person that doesn't like to take medicine. If I get sick, if anything, I don't take cough medicine. I don't do anything. Listen, rub some Buckleys or some Vicks on it, and I'm getting under the covers and I'll sweat it out. You know, right now, in transparency, right now, you know, we're both going through some personal things, which is probably why some of you haven't seen our show in a while. But, you know, like right now, even today, I was in therapy today because I'm fighting vertigo. So even while I'm sitting here looking in this camera, the room is spinning. The room looks like my background. So they try to give me all type of medication. I don't take synthetic drugs. I don't like it. I don't, it's not that I don't believe in it. I don't like it. If you're making my body do something that's unnatural, you know, in a sense. So it's just certain things that I just don't like inside my body or whatever. However, I'm a person that has high blood pressure. I do take the high blood pressure medication because if I can't work on it on my own and get it down by exercising and changing my eating habits, then hey, I have a responsibility for my children, you know, to do the best that I can to be as healthy and be here as long as I can. So I just think there's other extenuating factors when you get into the Cam Newtons and things like that. It's part of their again. Please forgive me if I'm using the term wrong. Vegan or vegetarian lifestyle that they don't take synthetics because it's a synthetic. At the end of the day, that's what it is. It's a synthetic. They don't like to put that into their body, so they choose not to, and they choose to have the natural healing that the body has to endure, which is when you go down, I don't want to say wormhole, but which is when you start talking about sea moss and all a bunch of other things that are holistic in a sense, but natural to the body. So I think there's that other side of it besides, you know, the history of the medical community in our community, being the Black community. I just want to offer that side of it as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the side that I was speaking to, because, but you're right, the science, there's also the historical part. And like you said, there's the scientific part about, you know, there's other options, there's other opportunities for people to get healing other than the traditional medical industry.
Mm-hmm.
So you are right about that. But I just think it's a complex issue. I think it's going to be something that affects the country for at least, how can I say this? I think it's going to, the
I don't even
lasting
think we have a
effects,
number. I don't even know what the number is. Even if you find
the lasting
number.
effects could be 20 years, could be 10,
Mhm.
20, 30 years. But I feel like the direct, us, being directly impacted by it, I think it might be a 2-year basis. And I feel like, not I feel like, I believe that this is actually going to be a deeper issue, because I believe COVID is going to affect how we see jobs, how we see
Oh
businesses,
yeah, oh yeah, it's
how
already
we
doing it.
see.
It's already doing it.
Exactly. I mean, we talk about there was a great resignation, and in the fast food industry, there's going to be so many businesses that close down because nobody wants to go to work because the government's paying them money. Why would somebody want to go to work if the government's paying them more money than the job they're
That
working?
money they better figure, and I know we're veering off, but they better figure it out. But I'm like again, I'll just use myself in true transparency. I'm not vaccinated. I'm
Mm,
not. But however, I haven't left my house since August now. I mean, I go
mm,
out.
right.
Like I went out and I picked up food. I bought food. I picked it up and I came back in the house. But I have the ability for myself, for what I do for a living. I'm I can stay at home. I don't have to go anywhere. So if I was to a person that had to physically go into work, I would look at the vaccine differently. I
Yes.
would say, well, I'm going to be amongst other people, and me not being vaccinated means I have to trust so many other people that I don't know
Yeah.
if I want to take that chance. So then my outlook on it may be different, as opposed to I have the ability to work to not leave my house if I don't feel like. If I decide that I literally don't want to leave my house and order Uber Eats and Amazon stuff and Whole Foods to come to my door, I don't have to.
Mm.
Period. I don't. I have that luxury, but I sit in a unique position.
It's very unique. I'm the total opposite.
Right, but
I
most people are. Most people are.
yes.
Most people are. So,
I'm
and
very,
I'm not. I'm neither way. Like I don't. If you just now, the only hard line I'm hard line about the mask thing. Like I'm hard line on that. I don't care. I don't care if I was vaccinated. I'm still wearing a mask. I don't know.
so you're not with these people who are saying, man, oh, you gangster because you not wearing a mask. You a real one. All these types of
I'm
things.
not. I don't care. I'm vaccinated. And I think that's the other part. And I know we need to move on, but I think that's the other part of it. When you call something a vaccine, the definition of vaccine is something that is prevents, says you won't get it. And I think the naming convention of it
Is wrong.
alone is wrong. And so
Absolutely.
I think there's
Because
a
it
lot of
doesn't prevent it. It
right,
doesn't prevent COVID. What it does
right,
is it's a protective measure. You know what I'm
right,
saying? It
right,
protects you in some kind of way. So that's really what this vaccine really is, or all vaccines are really.
right.
So, but it is what it is. I think it's a complex issue, and I think it's something that the American, not only in sports, because this is why I tied it in, because I feel like what's going to happen in sports is what's going to happen in life. What's going to end up happening, my theory is that they're going to go hard on the NBA players, on the entertainers, on the musicians, because back in the day, music and entertainment used to reflect society. It used to tell the stories of society. Now entertainment is the one that's telling society to, now entertainment, the entertainment industry is literally pushing the buttons for what society goes. It's almost like the entertainment people are the real people, and we're the ones watching, and we're the ones on the TV screen. Like it's totally flipped, in my opinion. So what I believe is that what's going to happen in the entertainment industry, in the sports industry, they're going to be hard on these athletes. They're going to say, if you don't get it, you're not going to get paid. There was a time in the NBA where you could not kneel for the anthem. When people talk about Colin Kaepernick, look, the NBA would fine you. They would fine you. Colin Kaepernick was not the only brother who kneeled. Okay, there was a brother in the NBA who kneeled. Okay, and Chris Jackson. They took him out the league.
Mm-hmm.
They blackballed him they blackballed. Okay,
And it's a rule now that you have to. I mean, unlike the NFL, you can kneel. The NBA, there's a rule. You have to stand. You can't. That's a rule.
well, they switched it up. I
Oh,
think
they switched it because I
they
knew it was he used to turn his back and face the other way
yes.
during the anthem, and that was his way of protesting
when
in a sense.
when it and this is gonna well, I'm not gonna be too. What I will say is this. I'll say that the NBA, when the situation with the NFL happened,
Mm-hmm.
the NBA quickly reversed the rule.
Mm.
They quickly reversed the rule and they allowed NBA players to kneel
Mm.
because they want to create this atmosphere of it. And we've had these discussions
Mm-hmm.
where we went back and forth where you said that so the NBA wanted to appear to be a players league.
Mm-hmm. They are.
And I know you believed that. So, but I'm just saying, to me, I just find it funny. And I love the NBA. I love basketball, but I do find it interesting how for years, you had the right to kneel in the NFL,
Mm-hmm.
but in the NBA, you were fined for free speech.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as the NFL got some controversy, the NBA got woke on the issue,
Mm-hmm.
and then they started to kneel, allow athletes to kneel. I think that's I'm not sure if that's necessarily a social justice issue. That might be a money move issue. Now, I ain't got no problem with that. I ain't got no problem with it being a money. But hey, who does not want to make money? But I just find it interesting that that's what they did back then, and not what they did. That they didn't do that back then, but they're doing it now. But I'm gonna leave that to it. I already spoken too much on that. You know what I mean? So I want to be in one of those circles, but I definitely want to call that out right there. Um, when we talk about the Buccaneers, Tom Brady, and Bill Belichick's New England Patriots and that whole situation there, obviously New England and Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, they have a connection that's deep, that's richer, arguably, than any other quarterback coach tandem in sports history. Arguably, it's right there. Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan, all these. Who else is a good example?
Kobe,
Kobe,
and
Phil Jackson,
probably. Yeah. Allen Iverson and Larry Brown.
Allen Iverson and Larry Brown. Who in football? We got.
Right now you probably Marino and
Shula.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Marino and Shula. You have so many great, but
yeah, you have currently Andy Reid and Mahomes right now.
Yes, so it's that's when you look at the tandems, Brady and Belichick are at that tandem where honestly they might even be over that Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson. That's another day. That's another day. But that's another debate for another day. But I think it's closer than what people think, actually.
Yeah, I think.
But I will say that there were issues that Bill Belichick and Brady faced that were deeper and more tense than Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan's relationship. Mm-hmm. And we've seen it. We heard it with Tom Brady's trainer saying he treated Tom Brady just like everyone else. He treated Tom Brady like a 20-year-old kid when he's in his 40s. And this is what caused the tension in New England as a Patriot. Alex, in your opinion, was this type of coaching wrong? Was Bill Belichick wrong to treat Bill Belichick just like a regular player? Should he have given the respect?
Okay, so then I'll use this. It's no different than what what's my man in San Antonio? The coach, Popovich. No different than Popovich and what he did with Tim Duncan. And Tim Duncan allowed Popovich to treat him like every other, like the 10th man on the bench, so that the message was synonymous from the top to the bottom that, well, if he's treating Tim Duncan like that, then, and we're all getting treated the same way, then I feel we're all one team, whereas this guy gets to skip practice because he feels like skipping practice, so he gets preferential treatment. So you have this team that has this bond that we're all in the trenches together. The difference is what the relationship that Pop and Duncan had versus what Belichick and Brady had. Pop pulled Duncan and had personal conversations so that there was a separate understanding. Bill never did that with Brady. He never extended a personal olive branch. He was that strict father. He was Joe Jackson. If Joe Jackson isn't as strict as he is on Michael Jackson, you don't get Michael Jackson. You just don't. And you can call it wrong being the type of father that he was, but you also have to understand the other side of that is if he's not as strict as he is on his kids, You don't get Michael Jackson. You just don't. Because it was the rearing that Michael Jackson endured that made him the superstar that he became. He does not become, he just doesn't. He doesn't. Like that's very, very, very clear. It's very clear that if he's not who he is and as strict as he was, if Richard Williams wasn't as strict as he was on his girls, I doubt we get Serena and Venus. I don't know if we do. That's all an extension of.
But there's a flip side to that. There's a flip side to this. There's always
Well,
that.
it works both ways because your father could be trash and you can rail against that.
No, what I'm saying is you could have a father who's overbearing like those men, and
Oh
their
yeah,
son.
yeah. Tom Marinovich is a perfect story. Tom Marinovich.
You know what I mean? So I get you. I get you.
And again, I'm talking about finished products. I'm not talking about.
That's true.
I'm talking about finished products with Michael Jackson, with the Williams sisters, and Tiger Woods. We're talking about finished. We've seen
finished
product, and you're absolutely right. It can go in the other direction. Tom Marinovich, who people don't know, was a manufactured quarterback whose father was overbearing and controlled him and made him a star as a high school player, made him a star at USC, was the first pick in the draft, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe, definitely up there.
Flamed out in the NFL and ended up on drugs within like 2 years. And that's the other side that Tim is talking about. There's probably some others, he's just at the top of my head.
That's what people wanted LeVar Ball to be. They wanted him to be that dad who was so overbearing that his sons would fail. But I think that didn't work for the haters.
Right.
I don't think it worked. I think he's got 2 sons in the league and a third one that could one day be in the league, potentially. But look, so all y'all haters that hate LeVar trying to compare him to Tom Marinovich, I believe it's because of race. I could be wrong, but I might not be. Anyway, I would say that in terms of Bill Belichick and Tom Brady's relationship, the way that I see it is sometimes you have to treat great players differently. And I'll give you an example. Phil Jackson and Dennis Rodman, or that relationship. Dennis Rodman would just do crazy stuff, marry himself. You know what I mean? Well, that might be a trend thing now. People might like marry themselves now. But you marry himself, he go out here and do crazy stuff and not show up for practice. But it was Dennis Rodman. What he did on the court.
Right. When the clock rang off,
he was that guy. He was that guy. Lawrence Taylor probably was somebody. He was somebody probably that was doing stuff, what I mean? But on that field, he was lights out. Michael Irving is another example of someone who was wilding out. Deion Sanders was another person who was doing things, but when it was time to get the job done, they did their job.
On that field.
And they were on that field. And that's what these coaches care about. They care about the production. I do understand that there are some coaches that care about, the men and establishing those connections. And I believe Bill Belichick might have those connections. But I also think that Bill Belichick comes from a different cloth or a different type of tradition. And the thing about Greg Pop that I find interesting is the reason why Greg Pop worked, in my opinion, was okay. This is just my humble opinion. My humble opinion is Greg Pop, the reason why it worked with that structure was because he had David Robinson and Tim Duncan. They both had Tim Duncan, I'm not sure of his total background, but I know that David Robinson was in the military. Okay. And I'm pretty sure that Tim Duncan came from similar type of strong-headed atmosphere, or at least atmosphere that could respect that type of mentality. But what has Greg Popovich been like without a prime David Robinson or without a prime Tim Duncan? He's a good coach, but he's not winning. He's not winning. You know why? Because that style of coaching look, you got to have a player who's willing to heed to that type of coaching.
To that type of coaching.
If they don't want that type of coaching, you're finished. You're through. You got to have some sort of connection. And sometimes, and look, some of these players, they're going to understand, especially if you have a player of Kawhi's. Now, granted, I do know when now with the Clippers, when Kawhi was doing that, obviously there was some rumblings in the air. But the reality is that Kawhi, when he was in LA, when he first got there, the only person who really could take a break was Kawhi. Paul George didn't need to do that. That's one. Paul George should have been there every day. But Kawhi, he had championships, he had the experience, he had the know-how of what it took to be in those positions and win games because he saw Tim Duncan do it. He saw Tony Parker do it. He saw all these great players do it. These players in Los Angeles, when Kawhi got there, they were like, why is Kawhi doing this? Why? You know why? Because they one, they didn't understand the culture. And two, I believe that actually it's funny too, because it's weird. You can look at it two ways. You look at it and say, okay, in some ways, Kawhi, what he did in San Antonio was good and bad. So one, Kawhi's relationship with Pop wasn't there the same way it was with Tim Duncan and Kawhi. Two, Kawhi took the what do they call it? They call it the where they sit out games. What do they call it, Alex? What do they call it? Is the
I know
name
I
escapes me.
forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, but like Kawhi took that sitting out games. That's what I mean. Sitting out games. Kawhi took that and put that in LA. Now, people should have respected that in LA, but because that wasn't the culture of LA, right? And because they had this win now mentality, and because it was so new to the idea of winning, they didn't understand or respect that. And obviously they failed.
Load management, that's the word you're looking for. Load management.
Load management, yes, load management. So Pete, now I feel like all that, it works under the right systems. And for a long time, that's what Brady was when he was with the New England Patriots, especially when he was younger. And I honestly believe when I look at them, both of them want to be better than the other. That's why there's controversy, because it's like, okay, who can win without one or the other? And as of right now, Tom Brady got the call. It's now going to be up to Bill Belichick to say, okay, can he win without Tom Brady? Because there's going to be tension in the air. Obviously, it didn't end well.
Yeah, and they play next week, so it'll be a lot of fun.
October 3rd. And I think it's okay. I think it's okay for people if they don't like each other and all this kind of stuff. As long as they win, it's not a big deal. But I am curious to see how it all plays out within the two. But do you have any thoughts on this? Any extra thoughts or anything on that?
No, I just think it is what it is. I mean, it worked. It's just, you know what I'm saying? So you don't get a 20-year of dominance, and I'm not saying they won 20 championships, but as far as their reign over that division, and the road was more than likely going to go through New England some way, whether it be the championship game or maybe the the other game, you were going to have to go through New England no matter what. Like that was the road you were going to have to get. You're going to have to go through them. Sometimes they got beat. A lot of times they won. You know, I think they went to what's that? They 5, 6. I think they went to 8 Super Bowls in that run.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. I think it's 8. That's that for the NFL. That's
crazy.
You have
for
to
go any sport.
Yeah, that's very hard to do, especially in football where there's a salary cap, there's moving pieces, there's injuries, there's a lot of things happening at the same time. A lot of things always have to come together, for you to have those type of consistent runs. And for what they did year after year after year after year, you're penciling in the New England Patriots no matter what, depending on who's out there that's a betting person. They're over-under started at 10. It never started at 8. They're over-under started at 10. Either they're going to win 10 or more, or they're going to be at 10 or maybe under 10. And most of the time, I don't recall, if I'm just going through my head, I don't recall them ever being under 10. Not even the year Tom Brady got hurt.
They were 10-6. They were 10-6.
5-5. So
they missed the playoffs.
And they missed the playoff, right? They missed the playoff
because
the Jets.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
How can you be 10? Like.
Yeah. So it worked. Whatever he was doing worked. So how do you argue? Again, Joe Jackson, Richard Williams. How do you argue when you saw when the outcome showed that it worked? Now, if it didn't work, then you can go in a different direction, but it worked. So we're hard pressed to say anybody was wrong. The only thing I can say is that Bill never reached out, extended that personal olive branch to Tom. You know, it's almost like, Dad, you've been hard on me all my life. I saved my money. I went to college. I graduated. I got the great job. I got the kids. I got the wife. I got the home. I've created generational wealth. Are you ever going to just say, hey, son, good job. Congratulations. You know what I'm saying? Or you just,
where do you think that comes from?
Hmm?
Where do you think that comes from? You know,
I think that comes from, I think, you know, Bill Belichick is a unique individual just from afar from what I see. It's just, you know, he doesn't come off as personable. Number one. Number two, to maintain, I think that those are very, you know, there's always a thing. I'm a Verifone moment. Give me latitude for about maybe 2 minutes. There's always a thing where people say, well, everybody should be rich in the country. Everybody should be able to be this. No, no. Everybody's not fit to be the CEO. Everybody's not fit to be rich. What Bill Belichick does, you've seen Dennis Green. We let him off the hook. You've seen Herm Edwards. You've seen all these coaches go off and fly off the handle when they get frustrated with questions. Bill is the same. No, yes. Well, I don't know. That's the way you think about it. Do you know what type of self-control you have to never veer off that plane? You can hate Floyd Mayweather. Do you know how hard it is to maintain and always stay this even? And I don't care, you won the first 3 rounds, Shane Mosley almost knocked me out, Shane Mosley, but I'm still here. I'm not off my game. I'm not off my game. I'm right here. It's very hard for people to do. That's why everybody can't reach certain levels that other people reach, because a lot of us don't have that fortitude. You know what type of focus? Everybody has a chance to be great in the NBA. Do you know what type of focus you have to reach Mamba level or what we saw from Michael Jordan? You know what I'm saying? Michael Jordan was not the most talented person. He just wasn't. He says that in his whatever that was. The last I wasn't. He said
Last Dance.
The Last Dance. Thank you. I was going to outwork you though. Jerry Rice was not Jerry Rice ran a 4.58 if I'm not mistaken coming out of college. He was not the best wide receiver. He outworked you.
Same thing for Terrell Owens.
Right. Do you know how much focus that takes to run those stairs every single day that he was running in San Francisco, or for Michael Jordan to be in the practice? There's legendary stories about Kobe being in the gym. Do you know what type of focus that takes to not go out and enjoy your riches or being Kobe Bryant? Do you know what type of level of focus? You don't have it. That's why you're not Kobe, or that's why you're not Elon Musk. That doesn't say you don't have the talent, but the talent has to have that focus for you to get to those elite levels that we see certain people at. If we're just talking about, and everybody gets corrupt when they get to the top, it just happens. But if we're just
everybody,
yeah, people get corrupt, it just happens. But to get to those levels of where those people are at, everybody can't reach there. You don't have that level of focus and concentration. You get caught, that big booty woman across the screen right now, you start turning. Kobe never turned. But Kobe, you know what I'm saying? But you know, he never was blinded by the lights. He didn't care. He stayed focused on the task at hand. And that's Tom Brady stayed on par with the task at hand. You know what I'm saying? So it's very hard for people to do. How much further could have Terrell Owens gone if he had the focus of just winning and didn't take everything so personal? Even if he was right in taking things personal. Because right now, Terrell Owens is number 3 all time.
He could have been better.
Randy Moss is number 2. Well, I think Larry Fitzgerald kind of moved up. But either way, you know what I'm saying? If you just
But Larry Fitzgerald's not better.
Look, well, no. I'm talking about his numbers. I'm taling about the numbers. I'm talking about.
Oh, I know. For the people listening, for the people who are going to tune in one day and listen to this, whether we release it or years later, Larry Fitzgerald, great wide receiver, but he's not better than Jerry Rice. He's not better than.
And I'm just talking about their overall numbers, where they start 1, 2 in terms of their numbers, catches.
He's number 5 or 6, right?
No, he's up higher. Oh, you talking about overall? You talking about his talent?
Overall, all time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all time he might be 5, 6, 7. Look.
But I'm just saying in terms of like, if Jerry Rice is the GOAT wide receiver and you're chasing those numbers if I overtake those numbers, then you have to call me to GOAT because my numbers are better than his. Then he's there in terms of the numbers, but if we talk about Terrell and Randy Moss, what if Randy Moss never picked on Tom Brady in New England? They never trade him. Perhaps he finally gets a Super Bowl. He gets a ring, rather. Perhaps Terrell Owens finally gets a ring. Perhaps those numbers are a lot closer. I don't think they ever get to Jerry, but they're viewed differently in the pantheon of history. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it takes a lot to maintain that focus and never break.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what you're saying is key. And I think honestly, that's what leads to our next conversation with our last conversation.
And really
for
quick, I just
today's
wanted to
show.
know, I don't know if you were watching, but your Cowboys just scored again, return an interception for a touchdown.
Oh, that's what's up. Yeah, I'm actually not watching that. I'm focusing on this podcast right now. I ain't watching. But that leads to our next topic when it comes to focus. The great wide receiver, and I believe he's great, DK Metcalf, recently opened up that a lot of defenders. Now, this to me, it sounds normal, right? You know, it's like defenders are getting in his head, trying to slow him down, but he won't let it. Eventually, he will not let it get the best of him. But at times, he says he's got to do a better job of not biting. And you talked about it. Now I want you to even dive deeper into that idea of focus, because what you were saying was so important in terms of whether it being in the football field or in life. Obviously, in the football field, you know, your objective on the offensive side is to score as many points to win the game. But that defense is the obstacle in a sense, blocking you from your goal, right? So what is your take on that focus? Because sometimes not even your obstacles block you, but sometimes your own head can, you can check yourself out. What is your perspective when it comes to athletes and them wanting to go after something, but that obstacle is blocking them potentially from their goal?
Well, again, it comes down to, are you going to be great? If you want to be, so you said DK Metcalf is great. Well, if you want to continue being great, you're going to have to be able to ignore that. It's like Deion Sanders said, when they asked him, they said, he's like, Deion, you talked a lot of crap. Who's the receiver that will never respond? He was like, Jerry Rice. He said, I would say anything to Jerry Rice. He said, Jerry Rice will only do this. That's the only response you can get from Jerry Rice. He said, then Jerry will go out and do what Jerry does. He said, it may have been different with me and Michael because we were friends. We actually knew each other. So maybe if we didn't know each other, it may have been different. He said, but I didn't know Jerry and Jerry didn't know me. So when we faced off against each other, I couldn't get in his head because he didn't care what I said. He stayed focused on the task at hand. He was going to be where he was going to be. He wasn't going to be at 5 2/4 depth. He was going to be at 5 in a hook. If it was 5 in a hook, he's going to be at 5 in a hook, not an inch ahead or behind. He was going to be where he was supposed to be. So that matters, and if that's and again in football, I guess, or basketball, that becomes a book. What's the book on this kid? Oh, if you talk to him, you'll get him rattled and he'll get off his game. Or if you press this kid, he doesn't like to be touched. He doesn't like to be pressed. It'll rattle him off his game. So if the book on DK Metcalf, because it happens, because DBs talk. The Dion would talk to the Darrell.
Camp Bailey
Right. So they all talk. Say, yo, man, you want to get in his head? All you gotta do is talk trash about his girl who just left him who left him or whatever it is. There was a big fight. What was that last year between Golden Tate and I think it was Jalen Ramsey. I think it was them two, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there was a big fight between Golden Tate and I want to say it was Jalen Ramsey because his sister was dating Jalen and Jalen cheated on her. So it was a whole thing. And that's how Jalen got in his head, and that ended up being a big fight in the game.
Wow! Wait! You're telling me
I think it was Jalen Ramsey. I can look it up.
Jalen Ramsey went up to the brother of a girl he used to date and say, "Yeah, I cheated on your sister."
Well, no, he knew if it's yours, you have sisters. If I'm dating your sister, hypothetically, with football, you're a DB, I'm a wide receiver, and I'm dating her, you know me, I know you, and I cheat on her, your sister's gonna say, yeah, he cheated on me. And as your brother, as her big brother, as her defender, you're gonna, when you see me on the field, you're gonna see me.
I thought you were saying that the man was cheating on the brother's sister and then saying, "Oh yeah, I was cheating on."
Oh
him.
no,
I
no, no,
was
no,
like,
no, no. He had done it already or whatever happened.
okay, because that's cold
Yeah,
blooded.
yeah, yeah. And she told Golden Tate, and
Okay.
that when they faced when the I think it was the I want to say was it the Jags? Nope, it's the Rams. When the Rams played the Giants, they faced off against each other and they were just going at it. And it erupted. It got Golden Tate off his game, and Golden Tate responded, had a terrible game, and they ended up having a little scuffle at the end of the thing. And again, if you can play at that level, which is and when somebody said if you could talk and play, Dion could talk it and could walk it.
Yep. Yep.
Like the Migos say, talk it like I walk it. So if you could do that, that's very hard to do to maintain that concentration and run your mouth at the same time. Not a lot of people can do it. You know what I'm saying? Not a lot of people. You see it more in basketball than football, but not because not a lot of people could do it. But that's one of those things. If you could do it, Jalen Ramsey is a person that can do it.
Yo,
And he walks the walk. So if that's going to get in your head, you better, Jalen Ramsey's one of the people that probably DK was referring to because Jalen Ramsey was
yes.
in his ear.
That's crazy. That's the second time you hear Golden Tate in the tabloids for cheating scandals. That's crazy. I don't know. Remember the first one with Russell Wilson and Ashton Meem, which was Russell Wilson's first wife.
Oh, okay.
They were alleging that Ashton Meem was cheating
which
with
is why
Golden
he got
Tate.
let go. Okay, got it.
And Golden Tate was mad at Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson never said that was a lie. Russell Wilson never, according to Golden Tate, at least that's the last time I read about it. Golden Tate was frustrated with Russell that he did not ever deny that he, you know what I'm saying? So that's interesting. I don't know. The NFL world, that's an interesting place. You know what I mean? When you're a professional athlete dating women and multiple women, that can be an issue. I know there was recently another athlete, side note, there was another athlete, wasn't an athlete that his girl
PJ
had a gun?
Who?
No, there was an athlete, NBA athlete, and not NBA athlete, NFL athlete, and the woman got a gun. I forgot what the issue was, but she got a gun and she started. I was like, yo, like
he went to the party at a house he was at or whatever.
That's yes.
What's the safety from Seattle? That Eric Thomas?
Earl Thomas.
Earl Thomas. I say
Earl Thomas. Yes, Earl Thomas. That was a situation where his wife put like that's some crazy stuff. But that's a total side note. This is not what we're supposed to talk about.
Yeah.
But I just want to say that what you were saying about focus is so key, in terms of reaching a goal. I believe all of us, whether or not we reach a certain level of status, right? I believe everyone has something in them that can make them great at whatever they do. And you have to have a certain level of focus, a certain level of determination
to tap into
it so that not only you can see it in yourself, but that other people can see it in you. Because when you do the work, and it's crazy thing too, is like when you do the work and you're good at it, other people are going to tell you that you're good. You don't have to go around telling just people, oh, I'm the greatest, I'm the GOAT. No, when you do the work, when you're doing what you're supposed to do, the people will see and they will recognize what you're doing. So that's the one thing that I want to take away from this is like what you were talking about specifically about the focus part, the mental part, and being able to push yourself. Everyone should be able to have that about them. That's something that I'm continuing to work on. And I know that's something that Alex, for people listening, Alex has done a lot of great things. And when he talks about this focus, he's talking about it from the experience of him actually being in that, being in that world, being in the music industry, being in the NBA industry, like in the basketball world. He knows what it's about. And so when you're listening, when he's talking, I want people to really hone in on what he's saying, because what he's saying is, hey, look, what separates you is you figuring out what you want to do, honing in on that, and working harder than anyone else.
Yeah.
And when you block out all the ways, maybe you might not be a Kobe, right? But you'll be somebody who is your best self. And when
Right.
you're your best self, you can do a lot
Reach
of
for the
things.
stars, land on the moon. You still made it.
You still made it. And so, and that's the point that I want everyone to hone in on this podcast, because that's what we're about. We're about pushing ourselves to the next limit and being better. So Alex, I really appreciate you for being on Conversation in Sports. This was a good showing. We're gonna be back soon. We're gonna upload more videos. Sorry, we've been off. We've been a little AWOL, but we're coming back.
We've been dealing with life. That's it.
Yes.
And no other discussion. We've been dealing with life, just like everybody else has been dealing with life.
Yes, absolutely. So we will be back and better. Appreciate you, Alex. And I will talk with you next week.
All right, man.
Conversation with Sports.